April 14, 1865. Abraham Lincoln is laughing at a comedy. In 30 minutes, he will be dying. But here's what most people don't know. The assassin wasn't alone. And Lincoln wasn't the only target. This was a coordinated attack meant to destroy the entire United States government in a single night. And it almost worked. 5 days earlier, the impossible had happened. General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse. The Civil War, the bloodiest conflict in American history, was finally over. More than 600,000 were dead. Cities lay in ruins. The nation had been torn apart. But at last, there was peace. Lincoln felt relief. Even joy. On April 11th, he gave a speech from the White House balcony, laying out his vision for Reconstruction. With malice toward none, with charity for all. He spoke about reuniting the country. About healing instead of revenge. About giving formerly enslaved people the right to vote. The crowd cheered. But standing among them was a man who wasn't celebrating. His name was John Wilkes Booth. When Booth heard Lincoln speak about Black Americans voting, he turned to his companion and said, "That is the last speech he will ever make." The countdown had begun. John Wilkes Booth was not a nobody. He was one of the most famous actors in America. Handsome. Charismatic. Born into a legendary theatrical family. His brother Edwin was considered the greatest actor of his generation. But while Edwin supported the Union, John Wilkes Booth supported the Confederacy. He believed slavery was justified. That Lincoln was a tyrant. That the South had been humiliated and destroyed. And he could not accept it. What most people don't realize is that Booth didn't begin with murder. 4 months, he had been planning to kidnap Abraham Lincoln. The plan was simple. Seize the president, take him south, and ransom him for Confederate prisoners. On March 17, 1865, Booth and his conspirators waited along a road outside Washington. Lincoln never showed up. He changed his plans at the last moment. 2 weeks later, Richmond fell. Then Lee surrendered. The Confederacy was finished. And Booth realized kidnapping would no longer save the South. Only blood would. On the morning of April 14th, Booth learned Lincoln would attend Ford's Theater that night to see the comedy Our American Cousin. Booth knew the theater well. He had performed there many times. That same day, he summoned his co-conspirators. The new plan was far more ambitious. This was no longer about one man. It was about decapitating the entire federal government. Booth would kill President Lincoln. Lewis Powell would assassinate Secretary of State William Seward. George Atzerodt would murder Vice President Andrew Johnson. All on the same night. All at the same time. The goal was chaos. A power vacuum. And the faint hope of reviving the Confederate cause. As night fell, Lincoln arrived at Ford's Theater. Security was almost non-existent. There was no Secret Service. No serious protection. The president sat in his private box, laughing as the play unfolded. Booth entered the theater and waited patiently. He knew the script by heart. He waited for the biggest laugh line of the night, when the audience's laughter would drown out any sound. At 10:13 p.m., Booth slipped into the president's box. Lincoln was smiling. Mary Todd Lincoln held his hand. Booth raised a small Derringer pistol and fired from just inches away. The bullet entered behind Lincoln's left ear and tore through his brain. Chaos erupted. Mary screamed. Major Henry Rathbone lunged forward and was slashed with a knife. Booth leapt from the balcony to the stage below, his spur catching on a flag as he fell. He broke his leg but forced himself up and shouted, "Sic semper tyrannis." Then he limped into the night and disappeared. Doctors rushed Lincoln across the street to a boarding house. He never regained consciousness. At the same time, the other attacks were unfolding. Lewis Powell forced his way into Secretary Seward's home, brutally attacking him and his family. Seward survived only because a metal neck brace deflected the blade. Meanwhile, George Atzerodt lost his nerve. He drank heavily and never attempted to kill Vice President Johnson. At 7:22 a.m. on April 15th, Abraham Lincoln died. The nation awoke in shock. Secretary of War Edwin Stanton launched the largest manhunt in American history. Booth fled south with David Herold, hiding among Confederate sympathizers. For 12 days, he evaded capture. On April 26, Union soldiers cornered him in a tobacco barn in Virginia. Herold surrendered. Booth refused. The barn was set on fire. Sergeant Boston Corbett fired through a crack in the wall, striking Booth in the neck. Paralyzed and dying, Booth whispered his final words, "Useless, useless." He died hours later. Justice followed swiftly. 4 conspirators were hanged, including Lewis Powell, David Herold, George Atzerodt, and Mary Surratt. Mary Surratt became the first woman executed by the federal government, a decision still debated today. Lincoln's assassination was more than the loss of a president. It was the loss of a vision. He wanted reconciliation, not revenge. Healing, not punishment. Instead, the nation entered a harsher reconstruction. Resentment deepened. And the scars of the Civil War lasted generations. Booth believed he was saving the South. In truth, he made everything worse. Lincoln's funeral train traveled more than 1,600 miles. Hundreds of thousands lined the tracks. A nation draped in black. The first American president killed by an assassin. And the question still lingers. What would America have become if Lincoln had lived? Would Reconstruction have been different? Would the wounds have healed sooner? We will never know. Because on April 14, 1865, one bullet changed everything.